Hello, and a huge warm welcome back to English Made Easy. I'm Eleanor.
And I'm David. It's so good to have you with us.
It really is. Now, if you're new here, our mission at English Made Easy is pretty simple. We want to help you learn English in the clearest, most natural, and, well, easiest way possible. We know that learning a language can feel like climbing a huge mountain, but we're here to be your guides, showing you the best paths and making the journey fun.
Exactly. And today we're tackling a topic that might seem a little intimidating, a little scary even. We're going to be talking about the language of politics and the media. Words like left wing, right wing, conservative, liberal. You hear them everywhere, right? On the news, in movies, maybe even at the dinner table with your family.
And it can feel like if you don't understand these words, you're locked out of the conversation. You're just sitting there nodding along, but you don't really know what's happening. It's a frustrating feeling. We want to change that. This episode is your key to unlocking those conversations.
We promise that by the end of this, you won't just know the definitions of these words, you'll understand them. You'll feel the ideas behind them. You'll know when to use them, how to use them, and you'll even be able to talk about these complex ideas with confidence. We're going to pick up some really advanced vocabulary along the way, but we'll break it all down so it feels simple.
And here's a little challenge for you as you listen. When we introduce a new word or phrase, I want you to say it out loud after us. Just repeat it. Even if you're on a busy train and you can only whisper it to yourself, do it. This little action connects your brain, your mouth, and your ears. It's so powerful. I'll be speaking with a natural rhythm, the way a native speaker would, so you can catch the music of the language. Ready? Let's begin.
All right, so let's start with the biggest, most famous pair of words in this whole discussion, left wing and right wing. Eleanor, where does this even come from? It sounds a bit strange, doesn't it? Like we're talking about a bird or an airplane.
It does. And the origin is actually fascinating and surprisingly simple. It comes from the French Revolution over 200 years ago. In the French National Assembly, the politicians had to decide how much power the king should have. The people who wanted to limit the king's power, give more power to the common people, and make big changes to society sat on the left side of the room. The people who wanted to keep the king and the old traditions, the traditional power structures, sat on the right side.
So, from the very beginning, left meant change and right meant tradition. It wasn't about complex economic theory, it was just about where you sat in a room.
That's the core of it. And that basic idea has stayed with us for centuries. It's created what we call a political spectrum, a line where different ideas are placed. On one end is the left, on the other is the right. This idea of two opposing sides creates a dichotomy.
Whoa, hold on. Dichotomy. That's a big one. It sounds academic.
It is a C2 level word, but the meaning is straightforward. Let's say it together. Me. Dichotomy. The stress is on the second syllable, caught. Dichotomy. A dichotomy is simply a division or contrast between two things that are seen as completely opposite, like night and day or hot and cold. In this case, it's the political dichotomy between the left and the right. It simplifies a complex world into two basic teams.
Okay, so a dichotomy is a clean split. It makes things easier to understand, but I guess the real world is a bit messier than that. Let's start on the left side of that line. If it began with wanting change, what does a left-wing position look like today?
Generally, people on the left wing believe in social equality and progress. They look at society and see inequalities. Some people have a lot, others have very little, and they feel that isn't fair. They often believe the government has a responsibility to try and fix that imbalance. This could mean creating programs for the poor, providing public health care so everyone can see a doctor, or protecting the environment through new laws.
So, in the left wing view, the government is seen as a tool for good, an engine that can create a better, fairer society for everybody.
Exactly. And the key word you'll hear constantly associated with the left is liberal. Let's pronounce that one. Liberal. 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 The word liberal comes from liberty, which means freedom, but here's the interesting part, the nuance. For liberals, freedom often means being free from hardship, free from poverty, free from sickness, free from discrimination. They believe the government can help provide that freedom by creating a social safety net.
A safety net, that's a great metaphor, like a net under a tightrope walker. If you fall, something is there to catch you. So a liberal might support unemployment benefits or public housing as part of that safety net.
You've got it. And another word you'll hear is progressive. 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 This one is even more focused on the idea of moving forward. A progressive is someone who wants to see society make progress. They are very open to new ideas and social reforms. They might push for new rights for minority groups, for big changes in how our energy systems work to fight climate change, or for new ways of thinking about gender and family.
So a progressive isn't just about fixing current problems, they're actively trying to build a new and different future. They're looking ahead.
That's a perfect way to describe it. And the core philosophical belief behind many of these left-leaning ideas is something called egalitarianism. This is another beautiful advanced word. It comes from the French word égal, which means equal. An egalitarian belief is the idea that all people are fundamentally equal and deserve the same rights and opportunities.
So an egalitarian person would be deeply bothered by a situation where a child's entire future is determined just by the family they were born into. They see that as a violation of the principle of equality. They believe we should try to make things more equal for everyone from the start.
Precisely. It's the driving force behind the desire for social justice. Sometimes you'll hear a negative term used to criticize people who are very passionate about these issues, SJW, which stands for Social Justice Warrior. While wanting social justice is a positive thing, this term is often used pejoratively.
Pejoratively. That means in a negative or critical way. Pejoratively. Pejoratively. So when someone calls another person an SJW, they're usually not giving them a compliment.
Not at all. They're suggesting that the person is not genuinely fighting for justice, but is perhaps performing for attention, being overly sensitive or attacking people for small mistakes. It's a very loaded term you'll see online, and it's good to understand the negative feeling behind it.
That's a great point. The same idea can have a positive word, like egalitarian, and a negative, critical word, like SJW. The language we choose shows our own position. So to summarize the left, it's about progress, equality, seeing the government as a helper, and a core belief in egalitarianism.
Well put. Now, let's walk over to the other side of that aisle, the right wing. If the left is about pushing forward into the future, the right is often about valuing the wisdom of the past.
They're the ones who, in the French Revolution, wanted to keep the traditional structures.
That's the root of it. People on the right wing tend to value tradition, personal responsibility, and established institutions like the family, the church, or the nation itself. They believe that the systems we have inherited from our ancestors have survived for a reason because they work. They think we shouldn't be so quick to tear everything down and start over. A key word here, as you can probably guess, is conservative.
Conservative. Conservative. The stress is on "sir." It's like the word conserve, which means to save or protect something.
You've got it. Conservatives want to conserve or protect the values and systems they believe are important. They often place a huge emphasis on individual freedom and responsibility. So instead of the government solving your problems, the conservative view is that you, as an individual, have the power and the duty to work hard, make good choices, and improve your own life. The government's role should be limited.
And this connects directly to their ideas about the economy. You hear conservatives talk about the free market and low taxes all the time.
Absolutely. This is a central pillar of right-wing thought. The belief is that the economy works best when the government interferes as little as possible. This idea has a special name, another C2 term borrowed from French, laissez-faire.
Okay, that looks tricky to say.
It's easier than it looks. Let's try it. Laissez-faire. Laissez-faire. It literally means let them do or let it be. In an economic context, a laissez-faire approach means the government should just let the market be. Let businesses do what they do. Don't weigh them down with heavy taxes or complicated regulations. The belief is that this economic freedom will encourage innovation and create more wealth for everyone in the long run.
So it's the opposite of the left-wing view, where the government is a helpful manager. In the laissez-faire view, the government is more like a referee who just makes sure no one is cheating, but otherwise stays out of the game. It doesn't pick winners or losers.
What a fantastic metaphor. That's exactly it, the referee. Now, within the right wing, there's an interesting group called libertarians. This can be confusing because it has the word liberty in it, just like liberal.
Right. So how are they different? Libertarian. Libertarian.
A libertarian takes the idea of individual freedom and limited government to its logical extreme. They are what you could call fiscally conservative. They want very low taxes and a very small government, just like other conservatives. But they are also socially liberal. They believe the government has no right to tell you how to live your personal life. So a libertarian might be against taxes, but also be strongly in favor of legalizing drugs or allowing any two adults to get married. Their only rule is, as long as you're not hurting anyone else, you should be free to do what you want.
So they don't fit neatly on the simple left-right line. They take one idea from the right, economic freedom, and one from the left, social freedom. That's a really useful distinction.
It shows how the simple dichotomy starts to break down when you look closely. Another powerful idea on the right is nationalism. This is the belief that your own country is superior to others and that its interests should be placed above all else. This is different from patriotism, which is simply loving your country. Nationalism can sometimes lead to an us versus them mentality, where there's distrust of foreigners, immigrants, and international organizations.
So patriotism is a feeling of love, while nationalism is more of an ideology, a political belief system that prioritizes your nation above all others.
That's a very clear way to put it. So on the right side of our spectrum, we have a focus on tradition, individual responsibility, economic freedom, and in some cases, a strong sense of national identity.
So we have these two big ideas, left and right, but most people I know don't seem to fit perfectly into one box. They might agree with the left on healthcare, but agree with the right on taxes. It feels like a lot of people are, well, somewhere in the middle.
And that's where most people actually live. The middle is incredibly important. Someone who is in the middle is often called a centrist, or a moderate. These are people who take a more balanced view. They might see good ideas on both the left and the right, and they often feel that both sides are too extreme.
They're not driven by a strict set of beliefs then. They're more flexible and open to compromise.
Exactly. They tend to be very pragmatic. This is one of my favorite C2 words because it's so useful in everyday life, not just in politics. Pragmatic. Pragmatic. Pragmatic means being sensible and realistic, dealing with things based on practical results rather than abstract theories or ideologies.
So a pragmatic person isn't asking, what does my left-wing theory say I should do? They're asking, what will actually work in the real world to solve this specific problem right now?
Yes, let's imagine a city is struggling with homelessness. A very left-wing politician might propose a massive government program to build free housing for everyone. A very right-wing politician might say it's not the government's problem and that private charity should handle it. The pragmatic centrists would look for a middle path. They might say, okay, a huge government program is too expensive, and just leaving it to charity isn't working. How about we offer tax incentives to private developers to build more affordable housing? It uses the power of the free market, but it's guided by the government to achieve a social goal.
So it's about finding a practical solution that can actually get done. It seems like being pragmatic would be a good thing, but you often hear people criticizing the middle. Why is that?
Well, sometimes people who have very strong beliefs on either side, people we might call highly partisan.
Hold on. Partisan. That sounds like it's related to a political party.
It is. Being partisan means you are a strong and sometimes uncritical supporter of your political party. Your first loyalty is to your team. For a very partisan person, someone in the middle can seem weak or indecisive. They might say, "You don't stand for anything. You're just trying to please everyone." They see compromise as a betrayal of their principles.
And this is what leads to the extremes. What happens when you go very, very far to the left or very, very far to the right?
You get to the extremes. An extreme view is one that is considered unreasonable or unacceptable by the vast majority of people in the center. Someone who holds these views might be called a radical. A radical person wants to see a radical or fundamental change in society, and they often want it to happen very quickly, sometimes even through revolution. We talk about the far left, which might include communism, and the far right, which might include fascism, to describe these groups.
It's like if our political line is a road. Most people are driving somewhere near the center. The centrists are right on the dividing line. The left and right are in their own lanes. But the extremists have driven off the road completely and are in the ditch on either side.
I love that. In the ditch. It's a great way to visualize it. These extreme ideologies are often where you find the most anger and the least willingness to listen to the other side. This is where we see the dangerous phenomenon of polarization.
Polarization. Polarization. Polarization. I hear this word on the news all the time.
It's a huge issue in many countries. Think of the North Pole and the South Pole on the globe. They are the 2 points that are farthest apart. Political polarization is the division of society into 2 opposing groups that are moving further and further apart. The middle ground disappears. It becomes harder to have a normal conversation because each side sees the other not just as people with different opinions, but as enemies.
And the internet and social media seem to make this worse. You end up in your own little bubble where you only hear opinions you already agree with.
You've just described a crucial modern term, the echo chamber. An echo chamber is a digital or social environment where you only encounter beliefs that match your own. Your own beliefs are just repeated back to you, or echoed, by your friends, by the news sources you follow, by the algorithms. It feels good. It feels like everyone agrees with you, but it stops you from hearing different perspectives. It can make you think the other side is not just wrong, but crazy or evil, because you never actually hear their arguments in a fair way.
The echo chamber. That's a powerful image. You're just shouting into a cave and hearing your own voice back. It reinforces what you already think and makes that polarization even stronger. It's a vicious cycle.
It really is. So we have the map, the left, the right, the center, the extremes, and the dangerous forces of polarization and echo chambers. Now let's talk about the language of how politics actually gets done, the idioms and the jargon. You'll often hear a news reporter say something like, the senator is expected to toe the party line.
To toe the party line. What does that mean? It sounds like you're putting your toes on a line on the floor.
The image is exactly that. The party line is the official set of beliefs and policies of a political party. Think of it like a script. The leaders of the party have decided this is what we believe about healthcare. This is our opinion on taxes. Towing the party line means you, as a member of that party, publicly say and vote in a way that perfectly aligns with that script. You don't step over the line. It's about showing discipline and loyalty.
So it's about unity. You stick with your team no matter what. But what about when someone doesn't stick with their team?
Then they do something that is often praised as brave and independent. They cross the aisle.
Cross the aisle. I've heard that a lot.
Let's picture a government building, like the UK Parliament or the US Congress. The members of one party literally sit on one side of a central aisle, and the members of the opposing party sit on the other side. To cross the aisle means to walk over to the other side and work with your opponents. It means you are willing to compromise and cooperate with the other political party to pass a law.
So it's a physical metaphor for political cooperation. It's a very positive phrase then. It suggests that you care more about solving a problem than about winning for your team.
Exactly. And when this happens successfully, it creates bipartisan support. This is a fantastic C2 word. Bipartisan. 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 The prefix bi means two. Think of bicycle, two wheels. Partisan refers to a party. So bipartisan means something that involves the cooperation and support of two opposing political parties. A bipartisan law is one that both the left and the right have agreed to support. It's often seen as a major achievement.
But it seems so rare these days. Often it feels like one side is just trying to block the other side no matter what.
And there's a word for that too. A specific tactic used in some systems, like the U.S. Senate, is the filibuster. Filibuster. Filibuster is when a politician talks for a very, very long time, for hours or even days, to delay or prevent a vote on a bill they oppose. The goal isn't to persuade anyone, it's just to waste time until the deadline for the vote has passed.
So they just stand there and talk about anything? The phone book? Recipes?
Historically, yes. Anything to keep talking and run out the clock. It's a powerful tool for a minority party to block the majority. It's a form of pure obstruction.
That's fascinating. Now, I have another question. We hear about politicians trying to win votes, but sometimes it seems like the system itself is weirdly shaped. I've heard the term gerrymandering. It sounds like a strange monster's name.
It does. Gerrymandering. Gerrymandering. This is a complex but important concept. In many countries, areas are divided into electoral districts. The people in each district vote for one representative. Gerrymandering is a practice of drawing the borders of those districts in very strange, unnatural shapes to give your political party an unfair advantage.
How does that work?
Imagine you have a state that is 50% blue party voters and 50% red party voters. You could draw the district lines as simple squares, and you'd likely end up with half the representatives being red and half being blue. But with gerrymandering, the party in power might draw the lines to put most of the other party's voters into just one or two districts, which they will win easily. Then they spread their own voters out thinly across all the other districts, allowing them to win a majority of the seats, even though they don't have a majority of the votes overall.
So it's a way to choose your voters instead of letting the voters choose you. You're manipulating the map.
That's a perfect, simple explanation. It's a very controversial practice. So, politicians are trying to win votes from their constituents. That's a key word. A constituent, constituent, is simply a voter who lives in a politician's district. The politician's job is to represent their constituents.
And the politician who currently holds the office is called the incumbent.
Yes, the incumbent. 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 The incumbent is the person who is currently in a particular job or has a particular official position. In an election, the incumbent is defending their position against a challenger who wants to take their job. Being the incumbent usually gives you a big advantage.
Okay, so we have the ideas and we have the machinery of how politics works. What about how it's presented to us, the public? The media plays a huge role. I feel like we never get the straight story. There's always spin.
Ah, spin. A brilliant, simple word for a complex idea. When a politician or their team puts spin on a story, they're trying to present it in a way that makes them look as good as possible. They aren't necessarily lying, but they are interpreting the facts in a very biased way. The person who does this job is called a spin doctor.
So if a new economic report comes out and unemployment went up slightly, the government's spin doctor might say, this report shows continued underlying strength in the job market with positive signs for future growth. They ignore the bad news and highlight any tiny piece of good news.
Exactly. They are spinning the story like spinning a thread to create a narrative that helps them. And to make sure everyone on their team tells the same story, they use talking points.
Talking points, like a list of things to say?
Precisely. Talking points are a pre-prepared set of phrases and arguments about a particular issue given to politicians and spokespeople. The goal is for everyone in the party to repeat the exact same message over and over again until it sticks in the public's mind. If you watch several interviews with politicians from the same party on the same day, you will hear them using the exact same words. They are sticking to their talking points.
And the people on TV who are paid to discuss these things, the experts in the news studios, what are they called?
They are called pundits. Pundit. Pundit. A pundit is an expert in a particular subject who is frequently called upon to give their opinions about it to the public. You have political pundits, financial pundits, sports pundits. They are the professional opinion givers.
And in today's fast-paced media, they're always looking for a good soundbite.
Yes, the soundbite. A soundbite is a very short, memorable, and powerful clip taken from a longer speech or interview. News programs love soundbites because they are quick and get your attention. The danger is that a soundbite can easily be taken out of context. A politician might give a long, thoughtful 10-minute answer, but the news only plays the one angry 10-second clip.
So this all seems to create an environment where it's very easy for false information to spread.
It is. And here it's crucial to understand the difference between two important words, misinformation and disinformation. They sound similar, but they are critically different.
Misinformation, disinformation. What's the difference?
Misinformation is false information that is spread, but the person spreading it doesn't know that it's false. It's an honest mistake. Your aunt shares an article on social media that she thinks is real, but it's not. She's spreading misinformation. Disinformation, on the other hand, is false information that is created and spread on purpose to deceive people. It's a deliberate lie designed to cause harm, create chaos, or influence an election. It is a weapon.
That is a vital distinction. Misinformation is a mistake. Disinformation is a lie with a purpose. So how do we fight this?
One of the most important tools we have is fact-checking. This is when journalists or dedicated organizations investigate a statement made by a politician or a story online to see if it's true. They check the facts against real data and evidence, and then publish their findings, rating the claim as true, false, mostly true, and so on.
It feels like a constant battle between spin, disinformation, and the fact-checkers trying to find the truth.
Let's finish up with a few more common idioms you might hear in these discussions. I've heard people talk about an issue being a political football.
Yes. When an issue becomes a political football, it means the two parties are kicking it back and forth to score points against each other. But no one is actually trying to solve the problem. Think about immigration. One party might propose a solution and the other party blocks it just to make them look bad, even if the solution is a good one. Then the first party does the same thing to them. The issue itself never gets resolved. It just becomes a game.
That's a sad but very clear image. What about red tape? I hear that when people complain about the government.
Red tape is a fantastic idiom for bureaucracy. It refers to all the complex rules, forms, and procedures that you have to follow to get something done with the government or a large organization. The term comes from the old practice of tying official documents together with red-colored tape or a ribbon. So cutting through the red tape means finding a way to simplify the process and get things done more quickly.
And what if a politician has a controversial idea, but isn't sure if the public will like it?
They might test the waters. To test the waters means to unofficially share an idea with a few journalists or a small group of people to see what the reaction is before you officially announce it. If the reaction is very negative, you can pretend the idea was never yours. It's a way to check for danger before you jump in.
It sounds like politics is a very complicated and sometimes cynical world. All these terms paint a picture of conflict and strategy.
It can be, but understanding the language is the first step to seeing through the game. It allows you to be a more critical thinker. When you hear a pundit on the news, you can think, is that a pragmatic solution or is it just a partisan talking point? When you see a shocking headline, you can ask, is this real information or could it be disinformation? It gives you power.
It transforms you from a passive consumer of information into an active, engaged citizen. You understand the map, you understand the rules of the game, and you understand the language being used to play it.
Let's try to bring it all together. Imagine you're reading a news article. It might say, the incumbent, Senator Smith, is facing a tough re-election. A grassroots movement of young progressives is supporting her challenger, who claims Smith is too moderate and has failed to push for an egalitarian society. Meanwhile, a libertarian-leaning group is running ads accusing Smith of creating too much red tape for small businesses. Pundits say Smith is trying to find a bipartisan solution on infrastructure to appeal to centrists. But so far, the opposition is refusing to cross the aisle, turning the bill into a political football.
Wow, a few months ago, that sentence would have been almost impossible for an English learner to understand. But now,
Every single one of those bolded words makes sense. We know what a grassroots movement is. It comes from the people, not from the top. We know what a progressive wants. We know what egalitarian means. We know what libertarians believe. We know what red tape is. We know who pundits are, what bipartisan means, and what it means to cross the aisle and play political football.
and that is the magic of learning language in context. These words are no longer just abstract definitions in a dictionary. They're live concepts that you can now use to understand the world around you in a much more profound and sophisticated way.
Understanding the language of debate is easy. The hard part is remembering that the person on the other side is still a person. So, what do you think? Is it more important to stand firm on your principles, to toe the party line, or is it better to be pragmatic and cross the aisle to find a compromise? There's no right answer. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to see what you think, and it's great practice for you to write out your ideas.
Thank you so much for joining us on English Made Easy today. We hope you feel more confident and empowered.
Keep listening, keep practicing. Making this a daily habit, even for just a few minutes, is the fastest way to improve. We'll see you in the next episode.